students, it is the lectures of electrical machines, one of the core subject of electrical engineering. So, electrical machines can be categorized in 4 categories. One is transformer, another is DC machine, third one is induction machine, and fourth one is synchronous machine. So, all of you are BTech degree holders. So, I think all of you are familiar with these 4 machines. Apart from there are 2 other machines also, stepper motor and servo motors. Stepper motor and servo motors are used in control system, but in electrical machine system there are 4 type of machine. All of you are aware of transformers, is a static device. DC machine, there may be DC motor or DC generator. Induction machine, mostly they are termed as induction motor. They are generally used as induction motor. And induction generator is used only in wind power plants. Okay? Induction generators are used only in wind power plants. Normally, induction motor is that machine which is widely used in residential areas as well as industrial areas. So, induction motor is the most widely used motor. Synchronous machine also can be categorized motor and generator. So, the application of synchronous motor is very less. Generally, it is used for more than 30 kilowatt rating. Okay, synchronous motor is generally used for more than 30 kilowatt rating. That's why its application is very less. Most of the motors used in the residential areas as well as industrial areas, that is the squirrel gauge induction motor. In our ceiling fan, we generally have single phase squirrel gauge induction motor. DC shunt motor, it is a DC motor. DC motor, there are 2 types of DC motor, DC series motor and DC shunt motor. DC shunt motor is also very suitable motor for lot of applications. Okay, DC shunt motor is also a useful motor for lot of applications, but it requires DC supply. DC supply means it requires rectifiers. Due to that reason, in most of the places, induction motor is used. There are 2 types of induction motor, squirrel gauge induction motor and slip ring induction motor. Okay, there are 2 types of induction motor, squirrel gauge induction motor and slip ring induction motor. Squirrel gauge induction motor is that motor which is widely used in all over the world. 90% application of motor is squirrel gauge induction motor. So, what I have told you, DC shunt motor is also a suitable motor, but it requires DC supply. That's why its application is very less as compared to squirrel gauge induction motor. And these are generator and motors all. Transformer is the static device. Its application is different from all these 3. So, we will start from the transformer today. And before starting a transformer, I want to explain first thing, what is the active power and what is the reactive power. So, before starting the electrical machines chapters and before starting a transformer, I want to explain what is the active power and what is the reactive power. P is generally called active power, Q is generally called reactive power, and it is called true power also. It is called true power and it is called imaginary power. So, why active power is called true power and why reactive power is called imaginary power. First I will explain it to you, then we will start topics of electrical machines. Okay. So voice and all is clear? Okay. So, first consider a simple RL circuit. First consider a simple RL circuit and DC supply is applied on it. Simple RL circuit and DC supply is applied on it. Suppose it is 2 ohm, it is 6 volt. How much current will flow in this circuit? My question is, how much current will flow in this circuit? Answer is 3 ampere. Also, it is suppose 4 Henry. It is 4 Henry. So, answer is 3 ampere. How this 3 ampere is? We have calculated. It is I is equal to V upon R. Very simple. And what is the role of this inductor? What is the role of this inductor? We will explain it later on. So, current in this circuit is 3 ampere. Voltage across this resistance is 6 volt. Okay. Voltage across this resistor is 6 volt. Voltage across this inductor is 0 in steady state. These are the all values are in steady state. Steady state means when there is no disturbance in the circuit. Right? So, how much will be the I square R losses in this circuit? How much will be the I square R losses in this circuit? It will be 3 square into 2, 18, right? 3 square into 2, 18 and the unit is watt. Unit is watt. So, this resistor is consuming 18 watt power. This resistor is consuming 18 watt power. What does it mean? It is consuming 18 watt power. What does it mean? It is equal to basically 18 joule per second. So, this resistor is consuming 18 joule energy per second and dissipating in the air. Okay. This resistor is consuming 18 joule energy per second and dissipating in the air, 18 joule energy per second. Or in other language, electrical energy is converting into thermal energy. Okay. So, you got the meaning of what is the active power? The resistor is consuming active power. It is 18 watt. It means it is consuming 18 joule energy per second and dissipating in the air. If you will keep finger near this resistance, then you will find that this resistor is hot, means its temperature is high because it is dissipating the energy into the air. And what about inductor? It will store the energy half Li square. It will store the energy half Li square. It means half into 4 into 3 square. It will be half into 4 into 9 and I think 18. Its unit is joule. Okay. So this inductor has stored 18 joule energy, and then it is now silent, and voltage across this will be 0. All values are in steady state. Steady state means when there is no disturbance in the circuit. Suppose this inductor has value 14 Henry. Then also there will be current of 3 ampere in this circuit, but energy stored will be more because the value of inductance is increased, so it will store more energy. But in the steady state, voltage across this inductor will be 0, right? So this inductor have effect only in transient period, right? This inductor have effect only in transient period. That what effect it will have, we will discuss in the control system. But what I want to explain, what is the meaning of active power. Now, consider the another circuit. Consider the another circuit. Now this time AC voltage is applied. This time AC voltage is applied. Suppose it is 2 ohm, it is 4 Henry, current is, assume that it is 4 ampere. Okay. So, what will be the value of active power? What will be the value of active power? It will be 4 square into 2, it is 32 watt. Am I right? So it is 32 watt. It means this resistor is consuming 32 joule energy per second and dissipating in the air, or you can say this resistor is consuming electrical energy and converting it into the thermal energy. What about inductor? Inductor store the energy half Li square. Inductor store the energy half Li square. In AC circuit, current is continuously changing. In AC circuit, current is continuously changing. This portion is called quarter cycle. Quarter means 1/4. So this portion is called quarter cycle. Again, this portion is quarter cycle. This is the quarter cycle. Again, this portion is quarter cycle. So in the first quarter cycle, current is increasing. When current is increasing, this inductor will store the energy, right? When current is increasing, this inductor will store the energy. This is the formula. And in next quarter cycle, current will decrease. Current will decrease means it will release the energy. Inductor will release the energy. So what is actually going on? It is storing the energy, it is taking the energy from this voltage source. In next quarter cycle, it is releasing the energy and it is giving back energy to this voltage source. So in simple word, we will say this is consuming reactive power. Got the point? Basically, it is not consuming any power. Inductor is not consuming any power. It is doing energy exchange with this voltage source. When the current is increasing, it is consuming, it is storing the energy because of this formula. When current is decreasing, in this portion current is decreasing, it is giving back energy to this voltage source. So it is doing exchange of energy with the voltage source. So we have developed the convention, listen again, we have developed the convention that it is consuming reactive power and it is supplying the reactive power. So basically it is not consuming any power, but we have developed the convention that it is consuming the reactive power. That's why reactive power is called imaginary power. Got the point? And actual power is the active power, which is called true power. Now I am giving you one more example. Now suppose it is RLC circuit. It is J2, it is minus J2, it is 4 ohm, current is, suppose current is 4 ampere. So this circuit is consuming, listen again, this circuit is consuming active power I square R, you can say it is 3 ampere, I square R is equal to 3 square into 4, 36 watt. And what is the meaning of 36 watt? Now it is very clear. It is consuming 36 joule energy per second and dissipating in the air. This circuit is now not consuming any reactive power. This circuit is not consuming any reactive power, or in another word we will say voltage source is not supplying any reactive power. What is actually going on? Current is continuously changing in this circuit, means current through inductor is continuously changing. Voltage across capacitor is also continuously changing. Inductor store the energy half Li square. Capacitor store the energy half CV square, right? Inductor store the energy half Li square, capacitor store the energy half CV square. Voltage across capacitor is continuously changing because it is AC circuit. Current through inductor is also continuously changing. So what will happen when this current is increasing? Voltage across capacitor will decrease. So when this inductor will store the energy, it will release the energy. In next quarter cycle, it will release the energy and it will store the energy. Got the point? In one quarter cycle, when the current is increasing, it will store the energy. It will release the same amount of energy because this value is same. In next quarter cycle, it will release the energy. It will store the same energy. Or in another words, we can say it is consuming the reactive power. It is generating the reactive power. Okay. It is consuming the reactive power. It is generating the reactive power. So these are the conventions made by electrical engineering scholars that inductor consumes reactive power, capacitor generates reactive power, but these are the conventions made by electrical engineers. Reactive power is not basically consuming and reactive power is not actually generating. It is the conventions. There is only energy exchange. So that's why reactive power is called imaginary power. Got the point? That's why reactive power is called imaginary power. It is just conventions that inductor consumes reactive power, capacitor generates reactive power. In this diagram, inductor is consuming reactive power and voltage source is generating the reactive power, but actually there is energy exchange between these. and actual power means true power. Actual power means true power. It is consumed by this resistor only. So I have told you some basics of electrical engineering, and I will in future lectures I will give you some more examples why active power is called true power, why reactive power is called imaginary power. In further lectures I will give you more examples, but till now it is sufficient. So now we are going to start transformers. Okay. So our first topic is transformers. Have you seen transformers? In mobile chargers you have transformers. Inside an inverter you have transformer. There are roadside transformers. Near the road you have seen very big transformers. These are the three-phase distribution transformers. In the mobile charger you have transformers, but they are very small rating transformers. So perhaps everywhere there is application of transformers. In your household also, at least I think you may have 5 to 6 transformers. It's very small transformers. So at your house also, I think in every house have 5 to 6 transformers. And distribution transformer means very big transformers near the roadside, you might have seen. So it is the basic circuit of transformers. Suppose it is 1000 turns. If primary side has 1000 turns, secondary side has 100 turns. Okay, secondary side has 100 turns. Suppose here is the voltage 1000 volt. So how much will be the secondary side voltage? You might have studied it in your BTech. V1 upon V2 is equal to N1 upon N2 is equal to I2 upon I1. So first we are going to understand this formula only, then we will take up this one. So it is 1000 volt, it will be converted into 100 volt, right? How it is? 1000 volt upon 100 volt is equal to 1000 turns upon 100 turns. So you can understand secondary side voltage is 100 volt. So basic purpose of transformer is to step up or step down the voltage. It is step down transformer, means it is decreasing the voltage. Suppose here it is 10 ampere. How much will be the current on secondary side? The secondary side current will be almost, with this formula you can say 100 ampere, and the ratio K is called N2 upon N1. So on this formula you can understand it. I2 upon I1 means 100 upon 10 is equal to 10. You can understand it very well. Now my first question is, In this circuit, how much is the load on the transformer? How much is the load on transformer? Load on the transformer is always in VA or KVA. It means load on the transformer is always in apparent power. Load on the transformer is always calculated in apparent power. Apparent power means current into voltage, V into I. So load at primary side, how much is load? Voltage 1000 into 10, it is 10,000 VA, or in another word you can say 10 kVA. What is the relation between kVA and VA? That is very simple. The relation is meter and kilometer. The relation in meter and kilometer, same relation is VA and kVA. Similarly, load on secondary side, is equal to voltage into current, 100 into 100. So it will be 10,000 VA is equal to 10 kVA. So in this diagram, we can say load on the transformer is 10 kVA. But in actual transformer, what will happen? Primary side current will be more than 10 ampere. It will be 11 ampere. Earlier it was 10 ampere, I have written, but in physically actual transformer, it will be more than 10 ampere, because there will be some no load current. Anyway, so actually how much is the load on primary side? Load on primary side is basically, now you can say load at primary side is 11 into 1000, it is 11,000 VA is equal to 11 kVA. Got the point? What I mean to say, this relation is not exactly valid. There is a no load current in the transformers. Because of this current will be somewhat more, which you have calculated because of this formula. So in this diagram, actually load on primary side is 11 kVA, load on secondary side is 10 kVA. It means input kVA is more than output kVA. You can write it as input kVA is more than output kVA. What the point? In ideal transformer, input kVA will be output kVA. Input kVA will be equal to output kVA, but in actual transformer, there is no load current and you can say losses. So because of this, input kVA will be more than output kVA. It is true for any simple machine. Input power is greater than output power, right? Input power is always greater than output power. So similarly, in the transformer, input kVA will be more than output kVA in any transformer. And we will take it later on also, why it happens. Mainly it is because of no load current, right? So it is a simple explanation of a transformer. Anyway, input kVA is 11 kVA and output is 10 kVA. We will say load on transformer is 10 kVA. Load on transformer is 10 kVA. First, now I am going to discuss what is the no load current in the transformer. No load current in the transformers. Suppose you have stabilizer at your home. You have stabilizer at your home. Stabilizer is nothing but a transformer. That stabilizer is connected at the mains of your home, means just after the meter. If you will switch off all the loads, load means ceiling fan, fridge, TV, AC, you have switched off all the loads, means there is no load, but that stabilizer will take some current because it is connected with the input supply. So there is no load, but that stabilizer is taking some current. It is called no load current. So what is the meaning of no load current? If there is no load on the transformer, despite that it will take some current. Of course, no load current should be very low in a good transformer. No load current should be very low in a good transformer. So first we will discuss what is the no load current. I am telling you approximate equivalent circuit of transformer. It is called approximate equivalent circuit of transformer. Why it is approximate? We will discuss it later on. So it is the applied voltage, it is the load. These are called shunt parameters. Sorry, these are called series parameters. These are called shunt parameters. So it is series parameters, and these are the shunt parameters. In a good transformer, value of series parameter should be low. In a good transformer, value of series parameter should be low. Any resistance, if it is in the series with the load, its value should be low. Okay. So it is the resistance of transformer, or it is, you can say, it is the resistance of copper windings of transformer. It is called leakage reactance. It is called shunt parameters. This resistance represented the iron loss. Note that if the value of this resistance is low, copper losses will be low. If the value of this resistance is high, then iron losses will be low, right? If the value of this resistance is high, iron losses will be low. It is called no load current. It is called no load current. So you can understand it. If there is no load, okay, if there is no load, no load means you have switched off all the fan, fridge, TV, etc. Then there is no load. There is a supplied at input side. So this circuit is completed. So some current will flow in this circuit. Okay. At no load also you can see there is some current in this circuit. So it is called no load current, and the current which will flow in this wire, it is called load current. In a good transformer, I have told you value of shunt parameter should be high. Value of shunt parameter should be high. And if value of shunt parameter is high, then value of this no load current will be low. So in a good transformer, its value should be low. Okay. So I have told you, if this resistance is high, iron loss of the transformer will be low. If value of this resistance is low, then copper losses of the transformer will be low, right. So first we will discuss the no load current. And also we will discuss the vector diagram of the transformer. Now you can see there are two components. There are two components of no load current. Okay, there are two components of no load current. It is called watt component. It is called watt component. It is called magnetizing component. In some books, you will find that it is written as IE. IE means exciting component. So IM and IE are same, and these are the vector quantities, all are the vector quantities. So vector sum of this one and this one will be no load current, right. And when there is no load, at no load, you can say only current will flow in this resistance and in this inductance. No current is there. Here the current is 0. So at no load, iron losses will be there and copper losses are negligible, or say copper losses are 0, right. At no load, iron losses will be there, copper losses are negligible, or you can say copper losses are 0 at no load. More will be the load, more will be the current. Okay, more will be the load, more will be the current, more will be the copper losses. And suppose in most of the cases, generally applied voltage is fixed. Generally applied voltage is fixed. So in the problems of transformer, you will find that iron losses is generally taken fixed. But load is changing. That's why copper losses is changeable. You will find it in the problems of transformer, right. But suppose voltage becomes half. Suppose voltage become half, then also iron loss will become 1/4. If voltage become half, iron losses will also decrease. But suppose at your home continuously 230 volt is coming. So we are assuming that it is constantly 230 volt. It is not changing. So iron losses are fixed. But at your home, sometimes you are using one fan, sometimes you are using two fan, sometimes you are using geyser, sometimes you are not using electric geyser. So load is continuously changing. That's why copper losses are changeable. So now we will discuss the vector diagram. One more thing I want to tell you. I have drawn this is the approximate equivalent circuit of transformer. In normally, suppose its value is 400 ohm. its value will be around like this. Its value will be around like this. These may be the typical values. So what you have seen, this resistance, the value of this resistance is high as compared to this inductance. Value of this resistance is high as compared to this resistance. It is the applied voltage. So value of this resistance is high, that's why magnetizing component will be higher than what component? Magnetizing component will be higher than what component? And these are the series parameters. Suppose you will take a book of power system. In the book of power system, suppose reactance of transformer is mentioned. Then means reactance of transformer is this one, not this one. And you might have make the reactance diagram in the power system. Generally in the books of power system you will find the reactance diagram. Why the reactance diagram? Because the resistance of transformer, resistance of generator, resistance of transmission line is very small as compared to reactance of transformer, transmission line and generator. What is the point? Resistance of transformer, transmission line, generator is very less as compared to reactance of transformer, transmission line and generator. And you can see also resistance of transformer is very less as compared to reactance. It happens in transmission line also and in generator also. That's why in the power system books generally you make only reactance diagram in case of fault calculations. Okay. So remember that generally magnetizing component is higher than what component? Vector diagram of transformer. Load on the transformer may be inductive. Inductive load means induction motors, coils. Load on the transformer may be capacitive. But in actual practice, most of the load are inductive. In actual practice, most of the loads are inductive. So anyway, but we will discuss the vector diagram in both the cases, in case of inductive load and in case of capacitive load. So it is the equivalent circuit of transformer. It is one of the basic equivalent circuit. It is the primary side current. It is the resistance of copper winding is uniformly distributed in whole wire. It is not placed at one point, but for the calculation purpose we have make it lumped form at one place. Got the point? Resistance of copper wire is uniformly distributed in whole wire. Similarly, it is the X1, R2, X2. X1 and X2 are leakage reactance of transformer. It is the no load current. It is the watt component. It is the magnetizing component, also called exciting component. So, first in the vector diagram, the flux will be here. It will be the vector of flux. It is the voltage E1. It is the voltage E2. It is the V2. So, V2 is called terminal voltage. E2 is the induced voltage at secondary side. E1 is the induced voltage at primary side. V1 is the applied voltage. In a good quality of transformer, V1 should be equal to E1. In a good quality of transformer, V1 should be equal to E1, E2 should be equal to V2. It means in a good quality of transformer, voltage drop across series parameters should be very low. Voltage drop across series parameter should be very low. So, V1 should be equal to E1 and E2 should be equal to V2 in a good quality of transformer. In generally, you might have studied that this formula. So, here the applied voltage is sine wave. It is a sine wave. Derivative of sine wave is cos. Derivative of sine is cos. So, that's why flux is suppose cos. Cos wave is also nothing but sine wave, but there is phase difference of 90 degree. Cos wave is also sine wave, but with a phase difference of 90 degree. So, phase difference between flux and voltage is 90 degree. So, in the vector diagram you will find it. Here is the E1, here is the E2. You can see phase difference between flux and voltage is 90 degree, flux and voltage is 90 degree. And what about in this diagram you can see it is the current of I2. Induced voltage E2 is equal to I2 R2 plus JX2 plus V2. It is nothing but suppose it is 100 volt. It is 100 volt. Some voltage drop will be there. It is suppose 10 volt. So, terminal voltage will be 90 volt. If the induced voltage is 100 volt, there will be some voltage drop and it will be 90 volt, but it will be a vector, all are the vector quantities. So, not numerically you can do plus and minus. So, E2 is I2 into Z2, I2 into Z2 plus V2. So, how we will show it in the vector diagram? It is V2, it is suppose I2, we are assuming that it is inductive load. We are assuming that it is inductive load. So, I2 is lagging behind with V2. Okay. So you can see I2 is lagging behind V2. Got the point? Suppose it is the diagram, it is the vector of V2. It is the vector of I2. So in this diagram, I2 is lagging behind with V2. Same is the situation here. Okay. So where will be the vector of I2 into R2? Where will be the vector of I2 into R2? I2 into R2 is the voltage drop across resistance. So it will be the vector of I2 R2. Got the point? I2 R2 vector will be in parallel with I2. I2 R2 vector will be in parallel with I2, and then it is the voltage so this vector is representing this equation. You can see E2 is this one plus V2. So E2 is V2 plus I2 R2 plus I2 X2. I2 R2 is the voltage drop across R2. I2 X2 is the voltage drop across this one. Okay. I2 R2 is the voltage drop across this one, and I2 X2 is the voltage drop here. So both have 90-degree phase difference. Vector of I2 R2 will be in parallel with I2. So it is the vector diagram of secondary side. Now I have told you one formula, N2 upon N1 is equal to I1 upon I2 is equal to K. Initially I have told you this formula, right? So how much is the I1? It is the value of I1, but we will write it as I1 dash. Why I1 dash? You will see it later on. So it is the current I1 dash. It is the current I1 dash. So it is the current I2 and it is the current I1 dash. With this current ratio, I1 dash can be calculated. Both I1 dash and I2 are at 180-degree phase displacement. So it is the vector of I1 dash. It is the vector of I1 dash. You can see I1 dash and I2, I1 dash and I2 both have phase displacement of 180 degree. Similarly, E1 and E2 both have phase displacement of 180 degree. Now, it is a no load current and actual primary current is this one. Actual primary current is this one and it is a no load current. So, you can write it as actual primary current is no load current plus I1 dash, right? So, where is the no load current? It is the no load current. It is its magnetizing component. It is the watt component, and the sum of I1 dash plus I0 is finally I1. Okay. Now I have one question, that why I0 is drawn here, why not I0 is drawn here? What the point? Why I have drawn the I0 in this direction? Why not I have drawn I0 in this direction? I have told you that Im is greater than I naught, Iw. Magnetizing component is greater than what component? That's why no load current is deviated towards magnetizing component. What the point? Also in this circuit you can see, suppose this value is 0, let's say this value is 0, because this value should be very low, this value is also 0. Then what is the relation between, what is the, okay, you can say, what is the phase difference between E1 and IW? In this diagram you can see phase displacement between E1 and IW is 0, because this resistance is in parallel with E1. So on the same ground I have drawn the IW here, and you can understand it. It is a simple coil with the E1. So E1 and Im has 90-degree phase difference. You can understand it very well. So it is the vector diagram of a single phase transformer at inductive load. Now we will discuss the vector diagram at capacitive load. It is not very hard, it is very simple. In the capacitive load, what will happen? What will be the relation between this I2 and this V2? Suppose it is the capacitor. It is the capacitor. It is the voltage V2. Current is I2. So what will be the relation in V2 and I2? It's very simple. If it is V2, current will lead. Current will lead. On the same ground, you can say suppose it is V2, it will be I2. Current will lead. Where will be the I1 dash? Where will be the I1 dash? With this formula, you can understand I1 dash and I2 both have 180-degree phase displacement. So it will be I1 dash. It is again no load current. Please note that no load current should be towards Im. Okay, means Im is higher than Iw, so no load current should be towards Im. So vector sum of this one and this one, vector sum of this one and this one will be final I1, right? So these are the vector diagram. In the gate examination, nobody will ask to draw the vector diagram. But to understand it, and to understand the basic concept of transformer, you should try to draw the vector diagram. Because if you will draw the vector diagram, then you will understand lot of things of electrical engineering, right? So I am explaining few more things which may be useful for you in the GATE examination. Please remember one sentence. In a good quality of transformer, efficiency should be high. In a good quality of transformer, efficiency should be high. Voltage regulation should be very low. Voltage regulation should be very low. For example, suppose a transformer has voltage regulation 2%, another transformer has voltage regulation 1%. Which is a good transformer? It is a good transformer. Okay, so voltage regulation should be as low as possible and efficiency should be as high as possible. If the losses are low, if the losses are having very low value, then efficiency should be high. So we will discuss it now. In the textbook, you will find that there is a equivalent circuit, but we will discuss the equivalent circuit later on. First, I am discussing you the voltage regulation and all. So it is the approximate equivalent circuit of transformer. Suppose applied voltage is 100 volt. There is a voltage drop of 10 volt. How much will be the voltage here? Here is the load. First, please note, all are the vector quantities. Vector sum of this one and vector sum of this one will be equal to this one. But for the purpose of understanding, I have just written the some scalar values. So if it is the applied voltage is 100 volt, there is a voltage drop of 10 volt, then the terminal voltage is 90 volt. In a good quality of transformer, it should be equal to this one. And if this is equal to this one, then voltage regulation will be 0. In the present case, there is a 10% voltage regulation. In the present case, there is a 10% voltage regulation. Okay, how the voltage regulation is you have got? It is 100 minus 90 upon 100. Okay, or you can say, if you will, suppose it is a vector equivalent circuit of secondary side, then it is E2 minus V2 upon E2 into 100. So it is 10%. It is the equivalent circuit of transformer as referred to secondary side. So it is suppose E2, it is V2. I have told you in a good transformer these values should be very low. If these value is very low, then voltage drop will be low and this will be equal to this one. And if this is equal to this one, voltage regulation will be 0%. It will be a good transformer. Now, is it possible Suppose it is 100 volt. It is 105 volt. Is it possible that terminal voltage is more than applied voltage, or you can say terminal voltage more than induced voltage? Yes, it is possible. If there is a capacitive load, then it is possible. If there is a capacitive load, then it is possible. I am not teaching you power system, otherwise I can explain lot of things. In the power system, you might have studied that. Suppose it is 1.01 per unit volt. In the power system, suppose it is the sending end voltage, it is the receiving end voltage. Now in normal case, receiving end voltage is generally less than sending end voltage because there is some voltage drop. But in few cases, it may be possible that receiving end voltage is higher than sending end voltage. It is called Ferranti effect. And why it happens? Because there are natural capacitances. There are natural capacitance between transmission line and earth. So, because of this capacitance, voltage may increase and receiving end voltage may be higher. So, what capacitance is doing? Capacitor is trying to increase the voltage. Inductor is trying to decrease the voltage, and capacitor do just the opposite of inductor. So, if there is it is a capacitive load, then you will find that terminal voltage may be more than induced voltage. Okay. And it is called minus voltage regulation. It is called minus voltage regulation. You can understand with this formula. 100 minus 105, it will be. In the books, in the electrical engineering books, it is written that at leading power factor, voltage regulation will be minus in transformers. At leading power factors, voltage regulation will be minus. What is the meaning of leading power factor? Means load is capacitive. So, load is capacitive means power factor is leading. Power factor is leading. Relation between this and this is leading, and voltage regulation will be negative. In the GATE exam, it is asked that is it possible that voltage regulation of the transformer is zero? Voltage regulation is zero of a transformer. In what condition it is possible? So, suppose there is a transformer of ratio 1:1. So, voltage regulation is zero possible at no load. At no load. there is no load, it means there is no current. Primary side current is almost zero. Actually, there will be some primary side current, it is no load current, but it is negligible. Okay. If there is a no load on transformer, then there is a primary side current, but it is negligible in that scenario. So it is negligible since it is the applied voltage V1, voltage drop is 0, here it is the E1 is E2 and it is V2. So since there is no current in the whole transformer, so V1 is equal to V2, V1 is equal to V2, it means voltage regulation is 0, first of all. Second, suppose there is a capacitive load. Suppose there is a capacitive load of very small amount. Suppose inductor is, its value is this one, its value is this one, and there is some voltage drop here also, here also. So there is a voltage drop in series parameters, but capacitor will try to increase the voltage. So capacitor will try to increase the voltage. So if the value of capacitor is very small and it will try to increase the voltage, these parameters are try to decreasing the voltage, then both will be balanced, and in that case also voltage regulation will be 0. So if there is a small amount of capacitive load, it means it will try to increase the voltage, and these series parameters will try to decrease the voltage, means voltage drop will be there. So voltage regulation will be 0. Okay.